Imagine this for a second. 50 years ago, a quiet war was declared on men, not with guns or tanks, but with words, policies, shame, and endless accusations. A war that told half the population they were the root of all evil simply for being born male. And for decades, men took it. They apologized for existing. They shrunk themselves. They paid the bills. They opened the doors. They handed over their paychecks, hoping that if they just tried hard enough, they would finally be accepted. But something has changed in the last few years, something monumental, something irreversible. Men stopped apologizing. Men stopped chasing. Men looked around at a society that despised them, and quietly, calmly, without drama or announcement, they walked away. And now the same voices that spent half a century screaming at men to leave are suddenly screaming something completely different. They are screaming for men to come back. And if you stay with me until the very end of this video, I am going to show you exactly why those pleas are falling on deaf ears, why this time men are not turning around, and why the collapse that is coming for a certain group of people was entirely self-inflicted. If you love raw, no filter, angry guy content that tells the truth, everyone else is terrified to say, smash that like button right now, share this video with every man you know who needs to hear it, and subscribe with notifications on because we are just getting started. And while you are down there, go check out Angry's Crypto Academy. The link is in the description. That is where I teach you step by step how to buy, sell, trade, and protect your crypto so you never again have to hand your hard earned money over to someone who does not respect you. Click that link and join the Academy today. And if these videos are waking you up, keeping you sharp, and helping you build the life you actually want, show some love and buy me a Red Bull. Link is in the description. Every can keeps the fire coming. Let me take you back to where this all began, because this is not some random trend that popped up overnight. This is the final chapter of a story that has been unfolding for over half a century. In the 1960s and 1970s, a new ideology exploded onto the scene, an ideology that promised women total liberation from every traditional responsibility. No more staying home, no more needing a husband, no more relying on a man for anything. The message was clear: you can have it all: the career, the independence, the freedom, the fun. And if any man dares to question that vision, he is the enemy. Laws started changing fast. Divorce laws tilted heavily in one direction. Family courts became a wealth transfer system. Men were told their natural instincts were toxic. Their desire to protect and provide was reframed as control. Their very presence in certain spaces became suspect. Manspreading became a crime worthy of public shaming. Looking at a woman for 2 seconds too long could end a career. The message was relentless. Day after day, year after year: men, you are the problem, and the world would be better if you just stepped aside. And men, being the adaptable, problem solving creatures that we are, eventually did exactly what we were told. We stepped aside. We stopped pursuing with the same intensity. We stopped offering to pay for everything. We stopped jumping in to fix every problem. We stopped believing that marriage was a good deal for us. We watched our fathers, our brothers, our friends get destroyed in courtrooms, and we said no thank you. We watched the culture celebrate women who bragged about needing a man like a fish needs a bicycle, and we thought, cool, message received. So we built our gyms in the garage. We leveled up our finances. We traveled with the boys. We learned game overseas. We discovered peace and quiet for the first time in our lives. We found out that solitude is not the same as loneliness. When you are finally free from constant criticism and financial extraction. And somewhere along the way, we realized something that changed everything. We are actually happier this way. Meanwhile, the women who spent decades celebrating independence suddenly discovered that independence has a price tag, and that price tag is now due. Rent did not get cheaper because you declared yourself a boss babe. Groceries did not start accepting empowerment as currency. Inflation does not care about your girl boss memes. The government checks that were supposed to replace husbands are shrinking or disappearing entirely. The corporate jobs that promised fulfillment and six figures often turned out to be soul crushing grind with no actual security. And the dating apps that were supposed to give women infinite options delivered an endless parade of men who learned the hard way that commitment is a losing bet. The same women who laughed at men for wanting traditional relationships now post tearful videos asking where all the good men went. The same women who bragged about not needing a man now cry about how lonely they are at 35. The same women who shamed men for having standards now demand 6 foot plus, six-figure earners who also do half the housework and all the emotional labor. The irony would be hilarious if it was not so predictable. Let us talk about the simp economy for a minute, because that is the engine that kept this whole fantasy running for decades. The simp economy was the unspoken agreement where average men, out of desperation for female attention and approval, would subsidize the lifestyles of women who felt zero obligation to reciprocate. Free dinners, free vacations, free Uber rides, free emotional support, free everything. Men were told that if they just paid enough, listened enough, apologized enough, maybe, just maybe, they would be granted access to affection or intimacy. And millions of men played that game for years. They went into debt buying handbags for women who would not even text them back. They worked overtime to pay rent for girlfriends who spent the weekends with other guys. They accepted crumbs and called it love because the alternative was being called a lonely loser by a society that mocked male pain. But something shifted. Men started waking up. Men started talking to each other online. Men started doing the math and realizing that being single with money in the bank and peace in their mind was infinitely better than being broke and stressed in a one sided relationship. And one by one, then 10 by 10, then thousands by thousands, men simply stopped participating. The collapse of the simp economy did not happen because men became mean or bitter. It happened because men finally started respecting themselves. When enough men decide that their time, money, and energy are valuable, the entire game changes overnight. Restaurants started noticing fewer couples where the man pays. Dating apps started bleeding male users who refused to pay for premium just to be ignored. OnlyFans models started panicking when the monthly earnings dropped off a cliff. The entire ecosystem that depended on male desperation began to starve. And the women who spent years laughing at simps suddenly realized that those simps were not losers. They were the foundation holding up their entire lifestyle. When the foundation walked away, the house started crumbling fast. Now we are watching the second phase of this collapse in real time. Women who spent their 20s and early 30s living the you go girl dream are hitting their mid to late 30s and discovering that the party has rules after all. Biology does not negotiate. Fertility windows close whether you believe in them or not. The high value men they rejected at 25 because he was not exciting enough are now married to younger women who actually value them. The bad boys they chased for thrills are nowhere to be found when the rent is due. The corporate job that was supposed to fulfill them leaves them exhausted and empty. And the culture that told them they could have it all is suddenly very quiet when the consequences arrive. So what do? They pivot to plan B. And plan B has always been the same: find a stable, reliable man to clean up the mess. But this time, plan B is not answering the call. Men have seen the script before. We know how this movie ends. We watched our fathers play the role of plan B and get punished for it. We watched our friends become walking ATMs and then get discarded the moment they were no longer useful. We learned the hard way that love based on necessity is not love at all. So when women suddenly start posting about wanting a good man who leads and provides, most men just scroll past and smile. When influencers start making videos about how feminism was a lie and traditional gender roles were right all along, men hit the like button and keep building their business. When dating coaches tell women to lower their standards and be more feminine, men laugh because they remember when those same women had lists longer than a CVS receipt. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. The trust is gone. The incentive is gone. The fantasy that men will always be waiting in the wings, ready to rescue women from the consequences of their own choices, has been shattered. And here is the part that almost no one is willing to say out loud: men are not angry anymore. That is what makes this moment so powerful. This is not a revenge movement. This is not men lashing out. This is men experiencing peace for the first time in their adult lives and deciding they like it too much to give it up. Men are lifting heavier, earning more, traveling farther, building stronger brotherhoods, and sleeping better than they ever have. Men are discovering hobbies they never had time for when they were busy managing someone else's emotions. Men are finally putting themselves first without guilt or shame. And the craziest part, the more men do this, the happier they become. The more men walk away, the more other men see it and think, wait a minute, I could do that too. It is a quiet revolution built on self respect, not rage. So when women ask, where have all the good men gone? The answer is simple: we are right here. We never left. We just stopped chasing validation from people who never valued us in the first place. We stopped subsidizing lifestyles for people who mocked us behind our backs. We stopped sacrificing our peace for people who offered chaos in return. We are building, growing, thriving, and living life on our terms. And if someone wants to join us on this journey, the bar is higher now. The price of admission is respect, reciprocity, and genuine appreciation, things that were never required when male desperation kept the whole system afloat. Let us pull the curtain all the way back and look at the cold, hard data that nobody in the mainstream wants to talk about, because once you see the numbers, the entire narrative collapses like a house of cards in a hurricane. In the United States alone, marriage rates have been plummeting for over a decade straight. We are now at the lowest marriage rate ever recorded in American history. In 1970, over 70% of men aged 30 to 40 were married. Today, that number has fallen below 50% and keeps dropping every single year. Young men are not delaying marriage, they are opting out completely. When researchers ask unmarried men under 40 if they even want to get married someday, the percentage who say yes has cratered. We are talking about a drop of nearly 30 points in less than 15 years. These are not men who cannot find a wife. These are men who no longer see the point. Divorce rates tell an even darker story for anyone still clinging to the old script. Over 70% of divorces are initiated by women. And in cases where the wife has a college degree, that number climbs above 90%. Think about that. The more educated and empowered a woman becomes, the more likely she is to end the marriage. Family courts reward this behavior with cash prizes in the form of alimony and child support that often leave men financially crippled for decades. The average man who goes through a divorce loses between 60 and 80% of his net worth, while the ex wife typically sees an immediate increase in her standard of living. Men watched this happen to their fathers, their uncles, their coworkers, and they made a rational decision. The risk is no longer worth the reward. So they stopped proposing, they stopped cohabitating, they stopped putting their names on joint mortgages and shared bank accounts. They learned that the house almost always goes to the wife, the children almost always go to the wife, and the paycheck almost always keeps going to the wife long after she has moved on to someone else. The legal system turned marriage into a wealth transfer program with a side of emotional devastation, and men simply refused to sign up. Now, layer on top of that the economic reality that has hit women like a freight train. For decades, women were told they could lean on two providers: a husband, or the government. When husbands became optional, the government stepped in with expanded welfare programs, subsidized housing, food assistance, free childcare, student loan forgiveness promises, and 100 other transfer payments designed to replace the traditional male provider. Politicians openly campaigned on the idea that women should never have to depend on a man again. And for a while it worked. Single motherhood was normalized, even celebrated. Having children with multiple fathers became a flex rather than a stigma. But governments are not magical money trees. Every single one of those programs was funded by debt and inflation, and now the bill is coming due. Western countries are drowning in red ink. Benefits are being cut. Inflation has eaten away the purchasing power of every check. A woman who could comfortably live on government assistance plus child support in 2010 is now choosing between groceries and electricity in 2025. The state turned out to be a terrible husband, unreliable, broke, and increasingly unwilling to keep the promises it made when money was easy. At the exact same time, corporate America sold women another fantasy: the idea that a fulfilling, high powered career would replace everything a family used to provide. Climb the ladder, smash the glass ceiling, become the CEO, and you will never need a man. Except the data shows something very different. Women who dedicate their 20s and 30s to climbing the corporate ladder are now hitting their 40s exhausted, childless, and often in middle management positions that pay less than their male peers who negotiated harder and job hopped more aggressively. The gender pay gap that everyone screams about disappears almost entirely when you control for career choices, hours worked, and willingness to relocate or take dangerous jobs. Women, on average, choose comfort, flexibility, and work life balance over maximum income. And there is nothing wrong with that choice, but it comes with trade offs that nobody warned them about. When you choose a lower stress government job with great benefits over the 80-hour-a-week consulting gig, you also choose a lower lifetime earnings trajectory. When you choose to leave the workforce for 5 or 10 years to raise children, you sacrifice promotions and seniority. These are rational choices, but the feminist messaging insisted women could have it all without any sacrifice whatsoever. That lie is now colliding with reality, and the collision is brutal. Meanwhile, the biological reality that every previous generation took for granted is reasserting itself with a vengeance. Female fertility begins declining sharply after age 30, and by 35, the drop becomes exponential. IVF success rates for women over 40 are depressingly low, and the physical, emotional, and financial toll is enormous. Women who were told to freeze their eggs and focus on career first are now discovering that egg freezing is not a guarantee. It is an expensive lottery ticket with terrible odds. The women who followed the have it all plan to the letter are waking up at 38, 39, 40, realizing the family they assumed would be waiting for them when they were ready simply is not materializing. The men their age who still want children are dating 28-year-olds who can give them a family without medical intervention. The high value men they rejected years ago are already married with 3 kids, and a woman who cooks dinner without posting a TikTok about how oppressed she feels doing it. And the average man who might have settled in the past now looks at the risk reward equation and chooses the gym, his brotherhood, and his growing investment account instead. This is where the passport phenomenon comes in. And let me tell you, this trend is accelerating faster than almost anyone realizes. Men are leaving Western countries in droves, not because they hate their homeland, but because they can get 3 to 5 times the quality of life and 10 times the dating quality for the same money overseas. A man who makes $70,000 a year in the United States is broke after taxes, rent, and student loans. That same man making $70,000 a year in Thailand, Colombia, Poland, or the Philippines lives like a king. He has a nice apartment, eats at restaurants every night, travels constantly, and dates women who are fit, feminine, and actually excited to build a life with him. These are not mail order brides or sex tourists. These are normal, high quality women who are never infected with the entitlement virus that has poisoned dating in the West. When a man experiences that reality for 6 months, coming back to American dating feels like volunteering to get punched in the face for fun. So they stay gone. They build businesses remotely. They get residency abroad. They start families with women who say thank you when a man holds the door instead of lecturing him about the patriarchy. And every month, thousands more men wake up, book a one way ticket, and never look back. Back home, the panic is setting in at every level. Dating apps are bleeding male users so fast that companies are now offering women free premium features just to keep the gender ratio from becoming catastrophic. Female influencers who built massive followings teaching women how to manipulate men are suddenly pivoting to marriage and motherhood content because the grift is drying up. Mainstream media outlets are running frantic articles asking where all the men went, as if men simply vanished into thin air instead of making a rational choice. Politicians are starting to float ideas like taxing single men extra or creating government dating apps because the birth rate collapse is now an existential crisis. Japan has been dealing with this for 20 years and still has not figured it out. South Korea is on the same path and falling faster. The West is next. And the speed at which this is unfolding has caught everyone by surprise, except the men who saw it coming a decade ago. Even the former simps, the guys who used to spend their entire paycheck on dates that went nowhere, have joined the walkaway wave. These are not alpha male gym bros with endless options. These are regular guys who finally got tired of being disrespected. They discovered crypto trading or day trading or started an online business or learned a high income skill and suddenly realized they could keep their money and still have peace. Many of them now talk to AI girlfriends when they want female energy without the drama or the expense. Others save up for a few trips a year overseas where they are treated like human beings instead of walking wallets. The bottom line is that the desperation that kept the old system running has evaporated. When even the most devoted simp decides he is done, you know the game is over. And here is the part that drives the legacy media insane. Men are not suffering without women. That was always the threat, right? If you do not comply, you will die alone, miserable and unloved, except the exact opposite is happening. Male happiness metrics have been climbing for the first time in decades. Male suicide rates are still tragically high, but the sharpest increases were among married men and men in long term relationships with women who initiated divorce. Single men who have embraced the walkaway lifestyle report higher life satisfaction than at any point in the last 40 years. Men are lifting more, earning more, traveling more, starting more businesses, building stronger friendships, and sleeping better. Testosterone levels, which have been falling for decades, are starting to stabilize and even rise among men who focus on health, purpose, and self respect. The idea that men need women to be happy has been exposed as one of the biggest lies ever sold. So when women flood social media with videos asking, "Where have all the good men gone?" the honest answer is that we upgraded. We upgraded our finances, our physiques, our passports, our peace of mind, and our standards. We are not hiding. We are just no longer willing to accept crumbs and call it a feast. We are not lost. We just stopped looking for validation in places that never valued us. We are not broken. We just stopped letting people break us and then blame us for the damage. The good men did not disappear. They leveled up and walked away from a system that punished them for existing. We are now staring at the part of the movie nobody wanted to admit was coming: the great demographic unraveling. Every empire that forgot how to make babies eventually collapsed, and the West is sprinting toward that cliff with its eyes wide open. Japan has been the canary in the coal mine for 20 years, and now South Korea has taken the lead in the suicide race. In 2024, their fertility rate fell to 0.72 children per woman. That is not a typo. 0.72. For every 100 women alive today, only 72 daughters will be born to replace them. In one generation, the population halves. In 2 generations, it is a ghost country. And the West is right behind them. The United States is hovering around 1.6, Canada 1.4, the UK 1.5, Germany 1.4, Italy and Spain barely scraping 1.2. Every single one of these numbers is below the 2.1 replacement rate, and every single one of them is still falling. The people who spent decades celebrating choice and freedom are about to discover that freedom without responsibility eventually means extinction. Governments are starting to panic, and when governments panic, they do the same thing they always do. They reach for the stick. They are already floating ideas that would have been laughed out of the room 10 years ago. Bachelor taxes, single man surcharges, government run dating apps with verified income requirements, mandatory fertility counseling. In South Korea, they are literally paying men to go on dates with women because the gender ratio on apps is now 8 men for every 1 woman. And even that has not stopped the collapse. In China, they went from 1 child to 3 child policy in less than a decade and now offer cash bonuses just to get married. None of it is working. You cannot bribe or threaten men into signing up for a deal that destroys them financially, emotionally, and spiritually. Men watched what happened to the last generation who played by the rules. They saw the divorces, the false accusations, the ruined reputations, the lifelong payments for children they are barely allowed to see. And they quietly said, "No, thank you. I will keep my money, my freedom, and my peace." The birth rate collapse is going to hit women the hardest because biology does not care about feelings or ideology. A man can father a child at 60 if he wants to. A woman's window closes whether she likes it or not. The same women who were told to ride the carousel in their 20s, focus on career in their 30s, and settle down when they are ready are now staring at calendars that do not negotiate. And the panic is setting in. You can see it in the comment sections. You can hear it in the podcasts. Women in their mid to late 30s are making frantic videos about how they were lied to, how feminism sold them a fantasy, how they just want a good man who will love them and give them a family. And every single one of those videos gets flooded with men saying the same thing. "We heard you the first time when you said you did not need us. We believed you. We moved on." The red pill pipeline is no longer a pipeline. It is a superhighway. 10 years ago, the manosphere was a handful of blogs and forums that the media loved to mock. Today, every major platform has creators with millions of followers laying out the exact same message. Protect your time, protect your money, protect your peace, and never build your life around someone who is free to walk away and take half your stuff with her. Young men are absorbing this information before they even finish high school. They are watching their older brothers and cousins get destroyed, and they are making different choices. They are stacking crypto, learning trades, moving to lower cost states or countries, building online income streams, and treating dating like an optional hobby instead of a life requirement. And the more men do this, the more other men see it is possible. It is a feedback loop of freedom. The corporate world is starting to feel the squeeze too. Companies spent years bragging about diversity hires and female empowerment initiatives, but now they are quietly realizing that the talent pool of driven, ambitious men is shrinking. The guys who used to work 80 hours a week to climb the ladder are now working 40 hours remotely from Thailand and laughing at the idea of giving their life to a corporation. The guys who used to stay late to impress the boss are now leaving at 5 to hit the gym and work on their own business. The hunger that built the modern world is being redirected into personal empires instead of corporate profits. And companies have no idea how to fix it because they cannot shame men into compliance anymore. The old levers do not work when men no longer care about being called names. Even the dating app companies are in full meltdown mode. Tinder, Bumble, Hinge. They are all bleeding male users so fast that stock prices are taking hits. They spent years optimizing the apps to maximize female choice and male spending, and now the men are gone. The gender ratio on most mainstream apps is approaching 10 to 1 in favor of men, which means women finally have to compete, and many of them have no idea how. They spent a decade swiping left on perfectly good men because they were an inch too short or $10,000 too poor, and now those same men have deleted the apps and are living their best lives. The apps are trying everything: free super likes for women, verified income badges, AI matchmakers, anything to stop the hemorrhage. But men are not coming back because they discovered something revolutionary. Life without dating apps is actually better. No more endless swiping, no more flaky dates, no more spending $200 on dinner just to be ghosted. Just peace, progress, and brotherhood. And while all of this is happening, the Passport Bro movement is going into overdrive. Every month, tens of thousands of men are landing in places like Medellin, Bucharest, Manila, and Bali and never leaving. They are opening businesses, getting permanent residency, marrying local women who treat them like kings, and raising families in peace. These are not rich guys. These are regular dudes with remote jobs or small online businesses making $50 to $100,000 a year, which is more than enough to live like top 1% in most of the world. And every time one of these guys posts a picture of his beautiful fiance and their ocean view apartment that costs $600 a month, another 10,000 men start researching flights. It is the biggest quiet migration in modern history, and it is accelerating. The women who spent years mocking passport bros as losers who could not get a date at home are suddenly very quiet. Because the truth is, those men are now surrounded by women who cook, clean, stay in shape, and say thank you when a man pays for dinner. They are raising children who respect their father. They are building wealth instead of bleeding it. And the women back home who called them losers are now 38, childless, and posting videos about how all men are trash while their cats scream in the background. The contrast is so stark, it almost feels cruel, but nobody forced anyone to make the choices they made. Governments are going to try everything to reverse this. They will dangle tax breaks for married couples. They will threaten to cut benefits for single men. They will launch propaganda campaigns about duty and legacy and saving civilization. And it will all fail for the same reason communism failed. You cannot force people to participate in a system that punishes them for participating. Men are not going back to the plantation. The chains have been broken, the gates are wide open, and millions of us are already miles down the road living lives our grandfathers could only dream about. The future belongs to men who choose themselves first. The future belongs to men who build wealth instead of giving it away. The future belongs to men who protect their peace instead of trading it for chaos. The future belongs to men who understand that respect, loyalty, and reciprocity are not negotiable. And the beautiful part is that the more men live this way, the more attractive it becomes to the next generation. We are watching the greatest transfer of power in modern history, and it is happening quietly, one man at a time, one decision at a time, one deleted dating app at a time. The first unbreakable rule that every man who has successfully walked away lives by is this: your money is yours and only yours until someone earns the privilege of sharing it. That means separate finances from day one, no exceptions, no joint accounts, no adding her to your credit cards, no co signing anything, no paying her rent to help her out just this once. The moment money starts flowing from your pocket to her lifestyle without ironclad commitment and proven loyalty, you have already lost the game. Men who keep their finances completely separate sleep better at night, argue less, and walk away clean if things go south. The statistics back this up 100%. Couples who keep separate finances have lower divorce rates and higher relationship satisfaction. The moment you merge money, you merge risk. And the legal system is waiting to punish the person who earned it. Keep your money in your name, keep your investments in your name, keep your peace intact. The second rule is location independence. The most dangerous place a man can be today is trapped in a high cost, high regulation, anti male jurisdiction with no escape plan. The men who are truly free have multiple options. They have a remote income stream or a skill that travels. They have a second passport or residency in a friendlier country. They have the ability to wake up tomorrow, book a flight, and never pay another dollar to a family court in California or New York. You do not need to be rich to do this. A man making $60,000 a year online can live like a millionaire in half the world. The moment you structure your life so that no government, no no corporation can corner you, you become untouchable. That is real power. The third rule is physical dominance. Every man who has walked away and never looked back made the gym non negotiable. Lifting heavy weights 4 to 6 days a week is not just about looking good, it is about reclaiming the testosterone that modern life tried to strip away. It is about building a body that commands respect the second you walk into a room. It is about having the energy to build an empire and the confidence to know nobody can physically intimidate you. The side effect is that women notice, but the main effect is that you notice. You notice that you walk taller, speak slower, and care less about petty drama. The gym is the cheapest therapy on earth and the best investment you will ever make in yourself. The fourth rule is brotherhood over everything. The strongest men I know have a circle of 5 to 10 other high caliber men they can call at 3 in the morning. Men who will drop everything to help you move, start a business, or bury a body if it ever came to that. These are not drinking buddies or guys you play video games with. These are men who have proven they will show up when life gets hard. The loneliness epidemic that everyone cries about disappears the moment you invest in real brotherhood. Women come and go, governments rise and fall, but your brothers are the constant that keeps you sane. Build that circle deliberately and protect it fiercely. The fifth rule is constant skill acquisition. The men who are winning right now never stop learning. They learn copywriting or coding or sales or crypto trading or e commerce or a trade that pays double in cash. They turn their brain into a money printing machine that no one can take away. A degree from 10 years ago is worth less every single day. A high income skill that you can perform from a laptop in any country on earth is worth more every single day. The average man who walked away spent 2 to 5 years grinding in private, building a skill stack that now pays him while he sleeps on a beach in Bali. That is not luck. That is deliberate action taken when everyone else was watching Netflix and complaining. Now, let us talk about the traps that are still out there waiting to derail you because the system did not roll over and die just because men started waking up. Trap number one is the trad wife mirage. Every week, another influencer pops up wearing ankle length dresses, baking bread, and promising that traditional women are making a comeback. Some of them are legitimate, most of them are running the longest con in modern dating history. They learn that men are starving for feminine energy, so they put on the costume, quote Bible verses they do not live by, and start fishing for a provider before they have proven anything real. The red flags are always the same. She has a large social media following, built on thirst content. Her past is a mystery or a disaster. She talks about submission, but has never actually submitted to anything harder than a yoga class. And she wants to get married yesterday. Real traditional women exist, but they are quiet, they are raised in religious communities or overseas, and they do not need a TikTok audience to find a husband. Be ruthless in vetting. And trap number two is the reformed carousel rider redemption arc. This is the woman in her mid to late 30s who spent her prime years chasing excitement and now suddenly discovered Jesus therapy and a burning desire to be a wife and mother. She will tell you all men her age are intimidated by strong women, that she just needed to heal, that her past made her who she is today. What she will not tell you is that she had endless options when she was 25 and chose none of them. And now that her options have dried up, she wants you to ignore the red flags because she is finally ready to settle. A few of these women are genuine, most are not. The test is simple. Does she bring peace to your life or drama? Does she add value or extract it? If the answer is extraction, walk. Trap number 3 is the covert contract. This is when you start doing things for a woman expecting reciprocity that was never promised. You pay for dates, hoping it leads somewhere. You fix her car, hoping she will appreciate you. You listen to her problems for hours, hoping one day she sees you as more than a friend. Stop it. Covert contracts are how good men become bitter men. Either state your intentions clearly and let her choose, or keep your time and money to yourself. Anything in between is self inflicted pain. Trap number 4 is the sunk cost fallacy. This is when you stay in a bad situation because you already invested so much. You stay in a sexless marriage because you have 20 years together. You keep chasing a woman who disrespects you because you spent thousands on her. You stay in a city you hate because you already bought the house. The moment you realize the investment is gone forever, you become free to make the rational decision. Successful men cut losses fast. They do not throw good money after bad. They do not throw good years after bad ones. They accept the loss, learn the lesson, and move forward stronger. The end game is simple and it is beautiful. A man who follows these rules ends up in his 40s or 50s with a 7-figure investment portfolio, a passport that opens doors all over the world, a body that still turns heads, a circle of brothers who would die for him, and the quiet confidence that comes from knowing nobody can ever take his freedom away. He wakes up every day choosing how to spend his time instead of begging for scraps of attention or approval. If he decides he wants a family, he has endless options with high quality women who never bought into the Western programming. If he decides he is happier alone, he has the resources and the peace to live exactly that way. Either path is victory because the choice is his and his alone. That is the future we are building, one man at a time. A future where men are no longer shameable, no longer disposable, no longer willing to trade their lives for a pat on the head. A future where self respect is the default setting and peace is non negotiable. A future where all roads lead to MWA, men walking away from everything that does not serve them. 20 years from now, historians are going to look back at this decade and call it the Great Realignment, the moment when the post 1960s social experiment finally ran out of other people's money and other people's willingness to suffer. They are going to write books about how an entire civilization convinced half its population that they were oppressors for simply existing, and how that same civilization was shocked when those oppressors quietly stood up, dusted themselves off, and built a new life somewhere else or simply alone. They are going to marvel at how quickly everything unraveled once the subsidies dried up and the threats lost their power. And they are going to point to right now, today, as the tipping point where the momentum became unstoppable. In 30 years, the Western world is going to look radically different than anything we can imagine from inside the bubble today. Entire cities that were built on the assumption of endless two-income households and government transfer payments are going to hollow out. Places like San Francisco, Toronto, London, and Sydney are already pricing out all but the ultra wealthy and the heavily subsidized. When the subsidies stop and the men who used to pay the taxes leave, those cities become museum pieces, beautiful but empty, playgrounds for tourists and the top 1%. The middle class family neighborhood of 2025 becomes the ghost suburb of 2055. Meanwhile, new hubs emerge in places nobody saw coming. Small cities in red states, Eastern Europe, Southeast Asia, Latin America, anywhere that still respects masculine energy and does not punish productivity. These become the new centers of innovation, family formation, and real wealth creation, while the old empires slowly decay under their own ideology. The population collapse will be the story that dominates everything else. By 2050, most Western countries will have lost 20 to 40% of their peak population. Schools will close by the thousands. Pension systems will collapse under the weight of too many retirees and not enough workers. Healthcare systems will ration care because there simply are not enough young people to pay for or staff them. Entire industries built around youth culture, dating apps, nightclubs, fast fashion, entry level corporate jobs will shrink or vanish completely. The culture itself will age rapidly. The median age in Italy and Japan is already pushing 50. In 30 years, the median age in most of Europe and North America will be well over 60. Imagine a civilization where the average person is a retired cat lady or a lonely grandfather with no grandchildren. That is the future that was chosen when independence was sold as superior to family. Governments will try every trick in the book to reverse the collapse, and every single one will fail. They will offer baby bonuses that sound big until you realize they do not cover 1 year of daycare. They will shorten work weeks and push remote work, trying to make family life easier. But the trust is gone. They will import millions of migrants to plug the demographic hole, and those migrants will either assimilate into the low birth rate culture or create parallel societies that refuse to integrate. Either way, the original population continues to shrink. They will try to shame men back into marriage with propaganda about duty and legacy, but men will just laugh because they already heard that speech and watched it destroy their fathers. Force does not work when the people you are trying to force can simply leave or opt out. The state is discovering the hard way that you cannot negotiate with biology or economics when the incentives are this broken. Meanwhile, the men who walked away early are going to be the patriarchs of entirely new lineages. A man who left the West at 35 in 2025, married a 25-year-old traditional woman overseas, and had 4 or 5 kids, is going to be 55 in 2045 with a tribe of grown, loyal children and a net worth in the millions. His sons will be strong, masculine, and fluent in 2 or 3 languages. His daughters will be feminine, educated, and married to high caliber men by 25. His grandchildren will number in the dozens. He will own property in multiple countries, speak with quiet authority, and command respect everywhere he goes. His bloodline will expand while the bloodlines that mocked him die out quietly in one-bedroom apartments surrounded by houseplants and memories. That is not theory. That is simple math playing out in real time. Back in the West, the women who spent their fertile years chasing careers and excitement are going to become the cautionary tale every young girl learns from, if there are enough young girls left to teach. The ones who hit their 40s childless and alone will become a visible underclass, highly educated, professionally successful in many cases, but biologically and emotionally bankrupt. Society will not know what to do with millions of aging, lonely, high income women with no family to care for them in old age. The strong, independent woman narrative will be remembered the same way we remember Soviet propaganda. Everyone will know it was a lie, but millions suffered before the truth became impossible to ignore. The winners will be the men who saw the writing on the wall early and acted decisively. The guys who deleted the dating apps in 2024, hit the gym, stacked crypto, learned a remote skill, got a second passport, and built a life nobody could take away. The guys who refused to play a rigged game and instead wrote their own rules. In 30 years, these men will be the elders that young men travel across continents to sit with and learn from. They will be the ones who kept the flame of masculinity alive when the entire culture tried to extinguish it. Their stories will be legend. Their bloodlines will inherit the future. The losers will be everyone who clung to the old script. The men who kept simping into their 30s and 40s, hoping for crumbs, the women who believed the lies and woke up too late, the politicians who thought they could tax and shame their way out of demographics, the corporations that thought endless growth was possible in a shrinking population, the entire system that was built on male sacrifice and female choice without consequences. That system is already dead. It just has not fallen over yet. And here is the most important truth of all: this was never about hate, this was about self respect. Men did not walk away because we hate women. We walked away because we finally learned to love ourselves more than we fear being alone. We walked away because peace became non negotiable. We walked away because we realized our grandfathers were not weak for providing. They were betrayed by a society that took everything and gave nothing back. We walked away because we are the generation that ends the cycle. So if you are watching this and you are still on the fence, still wondering if it is worth it to delete the apps, cancel the dates, keep your money, hit the gym, learn the skill, get the passport, build the brotherhood, let me make it simple for you. Every single man who made the hard choice 5 years ago is happier today than he has ever been. Every single man who kept playing the old game is more broken than he was yesterday. The math is brutal, but it is crystal clear. The future is already here. It is just not evenly distributed yet. The men who understand this are building empires, while everyone else argues about who gets the last scraps of a dying system. Choose your side before the choice is made for you. What did you think about everything we just covered? Are you already on the path? Are you still waking up to what is happening? Drop your thoughts below. Let us keep this fire alive in the comments. Like the video if it hits you in the chest. Subscribe if you have not already. Share this with every man who needs to hear the truth. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. Cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.